Hello, Molo. Fast. Yeah, you are indeed fast. Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Hope you like the music. And this is what we did yesterday. I think we can first go through that before we jump into today's session. And today's session, we are going to be making, exploring different styles. I'm going to try to make this, make this, make this, make this, make this, make this, and this for today's stream. And let me share the post for you if you want to look at the reference images, or if you want to follow the artists who created these pieces. But again, this is what we created yesterday, and we created, I think, 4 pieces or 3 pieces. Let me go to the next. The aspect ratio is a bit off. I think we created this a few days. I like the one with caustics. Yeah, we're going to fake. I want to see if I can fake the caustics, because rendering actual caustics would would take some time. Now this we created. We didn't create this yesterday, a day before, and then we also created, I think, this. Yeah, this was yesterday, and this was rendered in cycles X, but you notice that there is a lot of jittering because of how if you're using I used the open image denoiser, and I think it adds in that jittering. But if you use the optics denoiser, it's a much cleaner denoiser than the other one, because it doesn't have that jittery effect. The other thing we created yesterday was this we created another day, but let me also show off that. You can see this also has that noisy effect to it, and that's a result of using the denoiser. I think the optic denoiser is much better at this, but yeah. So today we are going to be making, like this music, let me play that back. We're going to be making some of these pieces here, and as you can tell, as if you want to check out these posts and see the different reference images we're going to be using today, you can just use the link in the chat that I've just pasted there. So I think we can already get started. We're going to start with the simplest, which I think would be this piece here, and then we can go to the other pieces. I'm going to bring my timer again, 20 minutes for each piece, and see how we do. So let me bring this and go to my timer. Blender good or 3ds Max? I like Blender much better than 3ds Max, because first of all, Blender is free, and who doesn't like free stuff? Okay, so we have our timer set up to 20 minutes. Just move this down. Move this. And I want to start the timer. Okay, the timer has started. Let's start a new project. Uday Kiran, yes, I do remember you, man. I do. How has it been? How are you? Hello, Maruf Matyokubov. How are you doing? Okay, let's create this spaceship. scene, then move on to the next thing. I'm going to use cycles because I realize cycles X is actually yeah, I love you too, man. I love you. Cycles X, I realize, is actually quite fast compared to the previous cycles, so that's why I'm using it more often now than I've been using. So let's set up the scene quickly. We can start with a cube like this. I like Blender because it was the only application my PC could open. Yeah, there's also that Blender is quite light, is very light compared to other applications, and considering what it does. Okay, so here we're starting. Let me just make sure that everything lines up, and just make sure the scale this time is not too bad. Just bring in my camera inside the cubicle, and set its focal length to something like 25. And maybe scale this a bit so that it's a bit wider. One thing I want to do is round off the corners a bit, so I'll just get these edges. Again, if you want to look at the reference, I've already posted the link in the description, in the chat for you, if you want to check that out. So our cubicle, I want it to be rounded like that, auto smooth. I'm just going to grab these faces, pull them up a bit like that, and maybe bring the camera a bit down, and looking up, maybe change the camera to focal length to 25. So we have that. Especially E-cycles version faster more than the K-cycles. Well, I haven't tested out the K-cycles, so I'm not really sure. Okay, this is where we at, and I think to work faster, I'm just going to separate this portion here with P and hide it for now, and I maybe even separate this front portion. I'll give this a thickness, a solidify modifier, like that, and also give it a bevel modifier, apply scale, and have something like that, harden normals, and maybe extrude this again. Do the same thing for this. I'm just going to use Ctrl L to link the modifiers or to copy modifiers. Now let's create that entrance. I can isolate this for a second, maybe even start working on the materials. So we go to create a new material. How much money do you make? Yeah, that's not something I can just say out publicly, man. Anyway, so let's go to the quick texture folder, and I'll go to my grunge maps, and I look for any grunge maps. I want to get something like this, and create a PBR out of it, so we get like something like that. It's a bit low res, so we are going to make sure that we are using object mapping, and just scale up the noise or scale it down according to what looks better, like that. And we are also going to set the metalness of this to 1, so we have this looking like metal. And another thing we can do is add a color ramp, but I guess before we do that, we can also... Hello Lutalemo James, how are you? How is everything, man? Another thing we could do is get another texture like this and import it as a texture and blend it with this. So I'm also going to make sure that it's using object mapping, like so. Change the operation, the projection to box. Hello Chemic Gaming, how are you doing? How is everything? Let's push those likes up. So right now we have 7 likes of 11 viewers. If we could get that up to something like 20, it would be very, very amazing, so that YouTube can push out the stream to more people. Yeah, so going back to this, I'm just going to blend these two here. I'm going to use Ctrl Shift, drag to the up forward. If you don't know what we are doing here, I'm preparing a course about making about nodes in Blender. I'll be publishing it very, very soon. If you are interested in checking out or in learning more about nodes. So I want to just blend these so we have more detail in our material here, and that is going to be our surface material, and I think we can also use it for the rest of the cubicle. So I'm just going to select this and this, Ctrl L, and copy or link materials so we have our cubicle like that. I'll go to the render settings and then turn on ambient occlusion and then screen space reflections. We're going to be using cycles for this, but just so we can set up everything, we can start with Eevee. We can call this cubicle. We have 14 minutes left, so let's set up our lighting in cycles. Let's set up our lighting in cycles. I'll go to, yes. So this is what we have, and for the door here, let me isolate this for a second. I can come in to this face. Just make sure that I join this here, this face with this face with this, then add a loop in the middle, and then I can delete this part here, and I just use a mirror modifier to handle the other side. Have this above, and then I can add another loop around here and another loop around here. They are going to make up this door here, so then I can I think I need to align them to this edge, so I'll use active element like that, so that I can scale them and to align to that element. Then I can use P to separate this portion, which I think is a bit too large, so I'm going to select both of these and just let me see. Actually, before we separate this, I'm just going to undo a few seconds and add a loop around here, because this is the length of the door or the width of the door I want. Hit P to separate it, and now we have that. Now, one amazing thing about this is that now we can just box select these portions, subdivide them, and start moving edges around like this. Maybe even add another edge loop around here or around here. Maybe pull this or scale this, align it like that, and I can now grab this, hit V, and I get some nice sci-fi detail like that without doing a lot of work. You can see how it looks there, and I can even do it somewhere here. Maybe add a cut like that. Just grab this edge loop and this and this. Because we have a solidify modifier and bevel, when we hit V, it will just give us a nice detail like that within our door. We can even add more detail, say maybe another cut around here, and just select this panel, hit V, hit Y this time. Actually no, let's select this edge, and then that, hit V again. Let me just make sure that I'm doing this correctly. So this is still attached. If I select this, hit V, I get that separated. But what I want is, let me see, this edge. I think I need to get a cut across here, so that I can easily rip this with V, and then we have an extra detail like that. Hey man, just want to say your work is super inspiring, and I have learned so much from watching these videos you make. You deserve way more recognition, and I hope you keep growing. Thank you, Biva Sema. Thank you, really appreciate that. Oh yeah, 14 likes. Thank you. Let's get that to 20. Hopefully YouTube can pick up the stream as well, so more people can join in, and we have some more fun. Okay, so we can also add extra details, like maybe a circle here. So I can just select these edge loops, subdivide them, flatten them, or align them to be straight like that, and select this edge, Ctrl Shift B, that will bevel the vertex, and I can go to the vertex settings or bevel settings, bring this down into a circle like that, hit F to fill it into a single endgon, and that will make it easy for us to turn it into a perfect circle using Shift Alt S and then 1 to make a perfect circle like that. and then you can scale it down and then hit V, or let's go to edges, hit Y, to separate it into its own face like that, and you can see we get a nice detail like that. Another thing we can do is grab these two here, these two faces, just select these edges and use Ctrl+Shift+B to round off the corners like that, but we want to use a 0.5 for the shape so that we get some nice rounded corners like that. So we are having some issues at the bottom here, and I think that's a result of simply because this is not connected to this, which we can fix by let me see, I just need to dissolve all these details here, just get rid of all these vertices first like that and like that. And now for this edge, we just need it to be rotated this side, so I'm just going to select this edge, so that is the active, and then just use Ctrl+M to mirror this on the x-axis, and that should mirror that detail like that, and we are good to go. Let's continue with detailing this the door. So the door, obviously it looks like glass is glass, so what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to first apply the solidify modifier. So I think I can apply the mirror and then the solidify modifier. The bevel we don't really need to apply right now, so then the thing we could do is, let me first isolate this for a second. We have something like this. Hello Kuma 33, thank you. Yes, good. Let's add a loop here. I just select this. Yeah, I think the notifications have started to go out there. Now we have 20 viewers, 16 likes. If we can push this to 20 likes, that would be amazing. Let's grab this face here and this face here. Delete those so we have something like this. I want the center of the pivot to be in the center. So I'm just going to select this edge loop, right click, Shift S to cursor, Shift S, cursor to selected, so that our cursor is in the middle. Right click, origin to 3D cursor. This music is really hyping me up. I like it. Let's add a mirror modifier. Just use the X or the Y axis to mirror this. So we have this like this. Hi dude, you are a master of my morning mood. Thanks for the content. Oh, thank you, gamer Igrom gamer. Thank you. I'm good, Kuma. I'm good. How are you doing? Let's bring back the bevel. Have it under the mirror. And then come in here, just select this edge loop, insert like that, and then extrude in like that, so that we get some detail like that. Then insert again, and then insert. We can turn on clipping and then push this in and then delete those faces, so we have our door looking like that. What are you making, by the way? Hi, how are you all? Yeah, we are making this scene, and like we have been doing in the previous videos or streams, we are starting to make, we want to make several art pieces just to improve our craft. And so today we're going to be making this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece, and this piece. Just different styles, so that we can improve in different styles. And if you want here, yesterday we made a few other things. So let me also just post the link to this page where you can see what we are going to be making. That's it there. And so yesterday, just to take you back for those who were not here, let's go back. Let me just change. I want to show you what we did yesterday. Go to my temp. This is what we did yesterday. Let me view animation. Okay, why is this not starting? View and it should be JPEG, render, view animation. Yeah, so this is one of the things we did yesterday, and you can see I rendered this using cycles, and I hadn't tested out cycles X yet, but I think this has proven to me that cycles X is a very big improvement from the previous cycles, because I was rendering this. I set the render time for each frame to be 30 seconds. So I think I rendered this around 20 minutes or something. This is cycles, full resolution 1080 1920 by 1080. This is what we managed to make. We made several pieces. The other piece we made was, I think, this. This we made a few days ago in another live stream. It was just kind of a Blade Runner scene like that. Yeah, we made a few other scenes. But yeah, today we're just going to be making this. Let me make sure that this goes back to temp so that I don't replace any renders in case I hit render. How much time did it take you? It took about 2 hours. The stream was about 2 hours and we made it through the length of the stream. Do you recommend setting a timer while doing work just to motivate you? Motivate ourselves a little fast. Yeah. I do recommend it. I think, yeah, it keeps you focused, I think. Thank you for subscribing, Ryu Gaming. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so let's get back to this. We are making this. We want to add in a detail here. I'm just going to hit E, extrude along normals, push that in, and then Shift D to separate it, and hit P to separate it into its own object. This is going to be our glass. So I'm just going to grab it, hit F, and fill it like that. And now we have our glass. So then what we can do is I'm just going to reuse the same material, hit this. I'm just going to call this glass so that we're using the same material. And for the glass, we only need, we can use, let's see, what should we use? We can use the shader, glass shader. It will give us glass, and since we are using Eevee for now, we can change. Let's just preview. Let's start cycles, since we're going to be using cycles. I can also add light, an area light, just around here, and I'll make it the same size as this. So I'm just going to use. So I don't know if this is a bug. You can no longer just scale the light directly in the viewport for some reason. Is this your first artwork today? Yeah, this is my first artwork today. Beaver Summer, thank you for subscribing. Unknown name, thank you for subscribing. Share the secret of where you get so much positive energy. Yeah, it's just loving what you do, man. Is simply just loving what you do. By the way, the photo in the glass has light in the corners. Yeah, I think it has some emissive light, or maybe just a reflection of the light from the outside. So let's scale this up. This is not a square. This is going to be a rectangle. 4, maybe 3.5, and then 7. 6, like that. And let's try using a sky background or a sky texture for the lighting, and unhide everything else. Now, as you know, glass is very heavy in render times, so there is a shader that allows you to render glass without incurring the computational power of rendering caustics and refractions. And I don't remember how to set up the shader from scratch, but I have the shader itself. And if you search for on Google, you can find non-refractive glass materials for Blender very easily. So let me see if I can get that, because I know I have it in my materials somewhere. Yeah, we have run out of time, but we're going to reset that because this is kind of bit of a complicated scene. Let's see, I have non-refractive glass somewhere. Yeah, this here is non-refractive, and maybe I'll show you the. Let me just grab this piece and assign it that material. So it's non-refractive, meaning Blender doesn't have to calculate the stream is stuck. You're saying the stream is stuck? I can hear the audio, but the video is stuck. I think it has unfrozen, has it? Let me check my internet. Let me check. Give me a minute here. Maybe it could be because I'm using cycles to render this. It could be because cycles was affecting it. Let me see if it's fine now. Let me first go out of cycles. Give me a moment. I'm trying to see if things are back to normal. It was, but I rejoined. Is your stream lagging on my internet? It could be my stream because I'm also seeing that on my side for some reason. So I think we are back, and it seems to be okay. Nothing major. Okay, okay, thank you. I think it's okay now. So let's go back to cycles. This is what we're rendering, and just scroll back. I don't want this to be too reflective like that, so I'm going to use a mixed RGB node. And I don't want, let me see what I'm working here. They shouldn't be in the, just make this a bit dark like that. Go into the render settings here. Let me make sure that I'm using denoising. And this is what we have. And let me also go to my, let's set up the sky to be a bit bluish, and maybe let me first hide this for a second. I'm going to go to my sky texture, just make it a bit bluish. So with that we can reduce the amount of air, increase the ozone layer. So we get a nice bluish setting, and maybe even move the light, the sun elevation to something like 50, or let's try 90. Okay, 90 is way too much. 80. 60. Yeah, somewhere like that. That's where we at. So the resolution of the noise is a bit less. So that's why you don't see a lot of the reflections. Let's see this in cycles. And in cycles, we need to make sure that the reflections. Okay, so I think this is already set up for us. So around that. Now we can work in Eevee for now, and then we can come back and preview the results in cycles. We can create this, let's see, this, I think perforations or whatever it is. So for that, I'm just going to grab an edge loop from this. So maybe add an edge loop like that, Control B like that, and then push it out to the side like this, and maybe even add a loop there, add a loop here. Because the only thing I want is this portion here. So I'll do Shift D and then maybe use Alt to push it in just a bit, and then separate it as an object, so we have something like this. Yeah, you can see what we have. I think the metal mask we might want it to be a bit brighter like that. maybe even give it a slight blue tint like that. And I'm going to reduce the thickness of this just a bit like that, and I can duplicate this again, something like that. Then I'm going to grab this edge again, E to extrude, and just push it out, Shift N to recalculate normals like that. I think I need to bring it in just a tiny bit like that. Make sure that we have shade smooth turned on for it. Thumbnail is fire. I was having a dream that I want to make that, and there is no YouTuber who made that. Thanks for making that. You are super great, amazing. Thank you for making our childhood great. Thank you a lot. You're very kind, Vinette. Thank you. So let's add in this detail. Now this is we can just use a simple texture to create these details, to add these details in. And since I don't have such texture, I'm just going to use my Deco Designer add-on to create that. So I can tell that this is just a simple cube, plain like this. Actually, I can just use a circle because that's going to be easier. So what I'm creating is this texture here, and I'm going to use it as a mask to add in those details. So I can go to edit mode, change this to a vector, rotate it 45 degrees, rotate this 45 degrees, and add, make sure that I'm using 2D. Let's try rendering this decal, but first let's make it 2D and make sure that the fill mode is set to both like that. Let me reduce the sound of the music a bit. Okay, so we have something like that, and if we go to edit mode and add another circle, scale it down, we get that. And now what we can do is just duplicate this on the x-axis like that until this join, or we can use a simple array to join these two like that, and then use another array on the y, but this time we want this to be offset just a bit on the x by 0.5. I think 0.5 is a bit too much. Maybe just in the middle, like let me see, 0.15, no, 0.17. Just want to align it exactly at that point, but I think we can get it. And now what we can do after this, I want to first go to save image, hit render. This is just going to show me how things are going to look. Let me just bring this down around here, because I want to create a pattern like this, but I don't want to use Photoshop. I just want to stay within Blender. So I'm going to scale this down until I can even change this camera to an orthographic camera, and I'll just position this at the corner here, and then I can convert this to a mesh, or virtuals to mesh like this. Let me see, do I want to do that just yet? Oh, what I could do is, let me see, can I apply this array? So curves don't really, you can't apply arrays to curves. So what I can do, instead of just using arrays, what I can do is just hit N to hide this for a second. I can grab this piece, Shift D, duplicate it until the segments are aligned like that. Now when you select two connected edges like that, you can hit X to delete the segments like that, and also do the same for this side. And now I can select the two, hit F, select the two, hit F, and that will connect them. And now I can dissolve these vertices, and now we have something like that. Then we just have to repeat the same step. What's your favorite software? The one I'm using right now, Blender. Just separate this because we want to and then I think I can have something like this. We don't want to have, I think we can also have that. Now another thing we can do here is just select these portions, this and this, delete segments, also select this part, delete segments, but you need to make sure that you're using I think it's called align, yeah, so we don't change the curve itself. Delete segments, so we retain that curve. I'm not sure if it comes through the resolution of YouTube. Now I can grab this piece and this, hit F to connect this, and this, hit F to connect it, and now we have something like this. These corners can be set to vector, and I just grab these pieces and align them like this. I make sure that they're set to vector as well, and the best way to handle this is just scale them to 0, so that you don't have to worry about them just protruding out like that. Now this can also be brought closer to that, or just convert it to a vector. Actually, let's not convert it to a vector. Did you learn by watching tutorials? Yes, I did learn by watching tutorials, man. I'll just bring this edge, make it flat like that, because I want to create a pattern, and I don't want to switch to a different application like Blender, 3ds Max. So I think the pattern would be somewhere. This is what says have to align correctly, and from here I think we can even apply this so that we make it a mesh like that. It's going to have a lot of faces or a lot of connected edges like that. We can hit F, you can select these faces and just convert them into a single endgon, so that this becomes, so that we make our lives a bit easier. Dealing with endgons is much easier than just this. So I'm also going to grab these vertices, scale them on the X so that they're aligned, and can also have this vertex here aligned like that, and then let me see what could actually, now I'm always trying to think of different ways to approach this, and I think the best way to do this is since we have this C here, which is going to complete most of the shape we want, we can just get rid of this face. So we only have this C. I'm just going to remove, make sure that I have only the faces I want. Also make sure that this is correctly aligned and straight. Just get rid of any points that are not necessary. So basically, if you can create this shape, then you are halfway done, because we want to create a repeating pattern. Hello Zigzag, how are you doing? Glad to see you. You could have done the shape using booleans. We could have done that, but I don't know. I think booleans can be a bit difficult to work with. So we can then add a mirror modifier. Let me first reset the origin to 3D cursor. Then mirror this like that, and I can apply the mirror now. Shift D, grab this to the Y, and then just grab this part and just move this. Actually, I can just mirror this on the X-axis. Control L. I just need to make sure that this is the pivot. Just mirror this like this, align it. Yeah, there are several ways we could approach this, but I went with what I thought would be much faster. Turns out it isn't really the fastest way to do this. We're almost there. Again, the pattern we are trying to create, let me actually zoom into this image. For some reason I can't, but the pattern we're trying to create is those things they're called perforations. Just grab these Booleans, I don't think would have been easier because you wouldn't be able to create a pattern with Booleans. I don't think so. I'm just going to grab this, merge by distance, make sure these are aligned, merge by distance, also make sure that these are aligned as well, merge by distance. Actually, this set here has to be mirrored so that it's a circle. What time is it in your country? It's 11:39 p.m. Then duplicate this. Yeah, we are done, I think, hopefully. Just recalculate normals. Let's grab this and this, recalculate normals. Shift N, recalculate normals, so we have something like this. I'm just going to just merge these shapes, and now we can use an array, and basically you can see the kind of pattern I was going for. Took us way more time than I wanted it to take us, but we got there. Just going to scale this, and we also want it to repeat at the top like that, and we have that pattern. Basically that's what we are trying to get. I'll just make sure that merge is turned on. Just move this closer, or just make sure that these pieces are aligned correctly, and same on this side, aligned correctly like that. Just also make sure that this starts from the position of the camera like that, and with that we can give this a quick render. Also want to make sure that let me bring this to the bottom like that, set my cursor there, and just make sure that this is aligning correctly. What if we fake it with bump of a magic texture? These are not actual bumps. This is just a metal with, I think it's called perforated. There are holes in it, and I'm not going to use a mesh because that would be a lot of texture. That would be a lot of polygons. So I'm just using my texture deco designer here to just render out a quick texture or pattern that we could use. Yes. Realign this. So the pattern is there. Actually, we want to render show transparency PNG format, render. The add-on I'm using, the Deco Designer, is available on my Blender Market, so you can search for that. So I'm going to save this into my resources, custom decals. I'll call this tile circle tiles. Okay, the hard part is done. It took us more than I wanted, but yeah, we are done with that. So now we can come to this. I'm just going to select this piece here, create a new material. Actually, we can just use the same material. I'll call this, let's just make it as a metal circles. I don't know, circles like that. Now it doesn't need the solidify modifier, so it has to be a separate object for this. So it doesn't need a solidify modifier. And now we can bring in our texture. So I'm just going to use my my texture designer, go to my custom decals and look for the one we have just created, this pattern, import it as a texture, and it is here. Let me make sure that this, let's reset the timer again. So 40 minutes already gone, already passed. You could have used a subdivision and then use the inset Yeah, subdivisions would have taken quite a lot of time. Sorry, would have been a lot of subdivision, a lot of polygons, which is not something I wanted. So I want this to use object mapping as well, and I want this to be a different material. I don't know why it's not. I want this to be a different material. So this piece here should have, I'll call this metal, just metal plane, metal, and then the middle piece will be metal, circles, like that. And we have this, let's UV unwrap this, but we don't have to use UV unwrapping. We can just use object mapping. And now you see we have our tiles like that. In some corners you might see some seams. You can use the blend node. That's a result of using the box projection. But now that we have that, all we need to do is have this set as the alpha. We can just use the alpha map as the alpha of this. And since we're using EV, actually you can already see what we are having here. Since we're using EV, we can go to the material settings and change this to alpha blend, alpha clip. Actually, you can use alpha clip for everything, because alpha clip is usually much faster than alpha blend. And we are done with that. We can make them, I think, smaller because they look smaller there. Just playing with the scale like that. And now you see how they look here. I think they look amazing. And we can repeat this pattern like it's repeated here. I'm going to use Alt D on the X, on the Y. I'll have something like that. Where you put all your final render, never saw any final render of these streams. You can go to website, exclamation mark website. The alpha just tells Blender what parts of the material should be transparent. Yeah, so if you go to exclamation website, Nightbot is just going to show you the link where you see what my final renders. Maybe let me show you that here if you're interested. So if you go to Blender and Beyond, I'll just go to the home. For some reason this page is not allowing me to click. Maybe it's froze or something. If I go to the home page, so this is the stream we are working on. The previous stream is this here. And you can see, did I post anything there? I think I haven't posted the renders for that, but I posted final renders for this, and you can see what we rendered in the previous live stream. So all the projects we rendered, this was EV, this is EV, this is EV, this was rendered in EV as well, except this was rendered in cycles, this is also cycles. So you can see what I rendered. Not sure why Nightbot is not working right now. But that's the link to what we created previously, and I always post them on this page. So let's go back to this piece here. It's taking us way more time than I expected, but I guess that's okay. Let's go back. I think I want this to be closer somewhere here. Let me reset my camera. Just change the aspect ratio, this to 25. So bring this up. Okay, what else do we need to add in here? Now, if I go back to cycles, just make sure that this is no transparency. So that's where we are right now. Now if I first hide this, you can see how the details are starting to come into play. And this glass here, I want to make it a bit more detailed than it is, because right now you see it's just transparent like that. And this is the setup of that shader, and that's how it works, just so it renders glass much faster. I think I'll also leave a link to this material here so that you can use it. It just makes a rendering glass much faster. Working on the new airship sketches. Nice. Don't forget to share them. Okay, so I want to give it some dust like what we have here. So what I'm going to do is first unwrap these faces. And then what I'm going to do, let me maybe extend this just a bit. I'm just going to bring in, let me go to my textures, grunge maps, and I want to grab this piece here. I will import it as a texture, and this is how it looks on the glass. But the other thing I want to do is also use a texture gradient texture like this. That's how it looks. It just gives us a gradient from the top and the bottom, and from the side to this side. You see, we have this kind of glowy effect around the glass, or dirty part of the glass like that. That's what I want to add, and also add scratches around that. So I think we can also do another gradient. This time we can add a math node and try to just invert it. And I think it's now on the other side, so I'm going to add another math node here just to move it on the other side around there. So we have this side and this side. Now we can blend the two using a math node. Like that. We also need a vertical one for going up, down. For that we can just use texture coordinates. So input texture coordinates and just separate using convert, separate x, y. So object, we can use the y at the z position like that. And I think I need an add a math node so that I can bring this down around there. Then we're going to need another one inverted, so I'm just going to use a multiply, a -1, just add so that have this going up. Now we can blend the two. Again, we can just use multiply to have them like that. And then I can mix the two like this using multiply. And we have our corners rounded, like we have a mask that goes around our corners like that. And if we want, we can even add a math node here. Just change this to multiply, and we can control that gradient, or we can even use a power node to get a more pronounced effect like that. And the reason we want to do this is because let's see, we have a glass material here and a transparent material. So we're going to repeat this again. So a shader, I want to use another glass materials. Actually, let's see what do we have here. So we have this mask here. We can mix this, so our final mask looks something like this, and this is going to be our factor. My brain just got confused. Yeah, I'm not sure how to explain this anymore, so you just have to bear with me a bit. So you can see that the middle part can be made more reflective or less reflective. But I think what I need to do is, so I have this mask like this. I think if I use a principal shader, principal BSDF shader, and set this as the alpha, because I don't want to have a lot of settings here to confuse, to make it too confusing. So set this as the alpha. You can see that the middle part is the most transparent, and I can also add a color ramp here, just so we don't, so that we clamp our values to be around 1 and 0. And I think we also need to invert this mask. So I'll add a color invert so that the middle part is more reflective, is more transparent. And don't want this to be too powerful. Yeah, I want it to be as faint as what we have here, like that. Now I can use a transmission for this as well. Bring the roughness down. And this doesn't have to be too transparent. Can be somewhere like that. And this can also be our roughness mask. And we can also blend it with a different texture. So I'm just going to grab a scratch map texture here, just so it looks something like this. How will you change the color? The color of what? Just blend the two. Set this to multiply. Maybe screen. So this mask looks like this. I'm trying to make the edges more rough. Yeah, I think something like that. So we have some nice scratches on the glass. I'm not sure if this comes through within the glass, and I think we're spending a lot of time on this piece. So let's just go with what we have for that. And render. Let me actually just switch to Eevee. And for Eevee, we want to be using a sky. We don't want to be using a sky texture, and it is my Nishita sky texture. We can just use a different texture, maybe this. So we have something like that. Let's bring back the light. Make sure that this doesn't cast any shadow, or that the glass doesn't cast any shadow into our scene. It has a very powerful light, and I'm also going to add another sun, something like that. Make sure we have contact shadows like that. Now these are not really coming out here. I'm not seeing them very well, so I'm just going to make sure that they're large enough to be seen. Also, maybe I can use ambient occlusion here. And This wall is not simply plain as we have it here. So I think we can go into edit mode, add a loop around here, maybe bevel it, bring it down, and add a few extra loops like that, maybe like that. And grab this, hit Y, maybe even extrude it out like that. I'm going to grab this piece, bevel it like that, so that I have a loop that goes around like this. Hit Y or hit V, and you can see we have now a nice detail there. I can also grab this, hit V, just to add in some nice detail like that. Now what I'm going to do is also add an area light around there, and just make sure that it's well. So let's give it a nice area light like that. I think I need to separate this piece just so we have a very even. Just grab his face. Let's grab these vertices and these vertices, merge them by distance. Actually, let me just make sure this is a rectangle and wide, something like that. Contact shadows. So hello Elias, how are you doing? Yeah, today my internet is not the best for some reason. It's disconnecting and connecting again. Maybe let's also add a toilet since we have that already. I don't know, as you're pooping, you can see the wall. And let's create our Earth somewhere. Let's add the Earth, the planet itself. A very large Earth. Somewhere there. Now for the Earth texture, we can just go. We can just do Earth. And just find ourselves a cool planet like this. The image doesn't even have to be, it can just simply be this. I'm just going to save that as an image. Just create a new material, just drag this in. Now I'm just going to use projection mapping. So I'm going to select everything and use projection from view. If we go to the UV editor here, just going to grab this, scale it and align it to the clouds like that. I can even rotate this until I find some interesting view like that. Let's go back to the shader editor. I like this. And we can do a few things here. If we want this to look good, we can use this as the base color, use it as the roughness, and so we get some nice reflection there. And another thing we can do is duplicate the earth itself without the material, and we're going to use a shader, emission shader, and a transparent shader. Let's get rid of this. Let's blend the two using a shader editor, as a mixed shader like this. Let me preview this within the material tab like this. And I want this to be to have no shadows, but alpha blend like that. Now we want to mix what we have here, the transparent shader with the emission shader, and the emission is going to be a bluish color. Let me give it a bluish color like that. So this is how it looks right now, and I want to use an input layer weight, and we're going to use the facing as the factor, and this just sets it creates a mask of where the camera is, just a mask like that. And before we even use this, I can just show you how this looks. Actually we can switch the transparency and the emission like that. Now we can just use the blending mode here to play with the mask. Because I want the earth to have a nice glow like that, and I want to add a math node, set it to multiply, just move the mask just up a bit, backward bit. Let me first preview just the mask only. Let me see, set it to 1. Let's try power. Actually, we can just use a color ramp for this, just to control where the glow is going to be. So we want a nice rim light around our earth like that, and this is going to be our factor. You can see what we have. You can make that rim light a bit softer like that, and maybe the emission down something like 30, and we have a pretty convincing sky, except our world has to be a bit darker, something like that. And maybe we need some stars in the background as well. For that, we can just go to the world setting and textures. We can get a noise texture, and if you look around, you can see that we have this glowy effect, and we can grab another noise texture, add a color ramp, get the factor. So we have the noise in black and white. Just play with the color ramp. Okay, so I'm not seeing it working just yet. Should be here. So like that, and just scale down the noise really bad like that. I make it small and bring this down like that. So we have some nice stars, and I think we can even see them through here. So that's it. But the stars are not colored. They're simply black and white, and we want them to be colored. So what we can do is just grab, I think it's called, what is it called? It's called, yeah, we can just grab a mix node here. Actually, we can just grab an emission shader, emission shader like this. Now, the strength can be our mask here, and then the color can be this noise. This noise, you can see it's colored, so it's going to it should give us some nice color to our emission. And you can also just add a math node here with the operation of add. Let's try 10. Okay, that's too much. Let's try multiply at by 50, and now you can see we are seeing the stars, and I think the colors are also starting to show, but that's too much. You can even play with the roughness to make the stars even smaller. So let's try just 100 or 50, and we can just blend these two shaders to get a blend of the stars and everything else. I think for this we can use the add shader, because we want to add the stars to the skies. Can we do the caustics next? Yeah, we can try that and see. So that's what we have so far. And we can add more details to this. But let me see. Should I add these details right now, or should we go to the next piece? Let's look at how this looks in cycles. Just going to select this glass material. Just revert it back to the original material we're using here. Let's use cycles for this. It doesn't look bad. I think it looks good. We're seeing the stars and everything else. Next, because this took too much time. Yeah, I think we should just go to the next one, because this took about almost an hour. Yeah, more than an hour actually. So let's reset the timer and go to this here. Try to fake some caustics and see. Okay, we don't even have to start with the entire scene. We can just start by trying to fake caustics here. So if I add a plane like this, I mean, just give it a nice material. Let me see what kind of material can we use here. What kind of material? Building parts, walls. I'm trying to look for a suitable material. Let's see if we can get. Hey, let's just use this. Or this that we created yesterday. And just scale it down. Okay, Blender crashed. Let me restart this. Add a plane. Just give it a basic concrete material, and go to the caustics. Let me just give it this. Yes. Actually, the caustics to look good, I think we're going to need a good material because we're going to use fake caustics. So we should find something that is going to help us make this look good. So the first thing I'm going to do is switch to cycles here. And just make sure that I'm using the GPU. We might not use denoising just yet. And to affect these caustics, I think we can add, we can start with animation shader and add a texture, Voronoi texture, which gives us that kind of pattern. And if we add, say, a car ramp, that's just going to give us, let's try a math node. And so we get those details. You can see that the caustics already look like a. Use Gleb Alexandrov Advanced Water Shader. It's free. Yes, but then this would not be a tutorial because we're trying to learn a few things, a few tricks. So then we can use this as the strength and change the color to something like this. Then we can just blend the two shaders and we already have caustics. Another thing I think we could do is just get a texture, noise texture, add it to the vector, use it as the vector, just play with the scale. And I think we can use a vector. Let's first get the texture mapping for this. Can you give me a link to the reference? Can you give me this link, a reference one? Here it is. Okay, we can get this vector and then add a vector math. I need convert vector math here, and use this noise as the vector. I can see we're basically just trying to distort the noise a bit, and I think we have add multiply, which let's see if I use this as a 1. Let's see, we can even have this animated. So maybe somewhere there. Now if we play with the noise position or just the Z location of this, you can see we get the caustics animated without incurring the render cost. So we just have to animate, insert a keyframe here. Okay, this one even took me way fast. This is much faster than I thought would take me to figure out. Let's see, because I didn't practice this. Yeah, so I think those are some nice caustics. Anything? And the other thing we could do is even just increase the strength here, or just use a stronger value to make these more powerful, like that. So set up the scene. Does the image in the reference have volumetrics? Yeah, I think it has some bit of volumetrics because, yeah, I think it does. So let's try to remake the image, and we can just use the same material here. Let me see. Just make sure that this texture is using object mapping. Just call this fake caustics, like that. Now let's just set up everything. We're just going to scale this up. Then let's add another cube. Nice, thank you. Yeah, this took way less time than I actually thought I anticipated. I thought we were going to do a lot of fidgeting, but yeah, we figured it out much faster. Again, it has to use this has to use the same material. Apply the scale. Just going to grab these. Actually, let's bring back the camera to its original position. And if we just use, let me see, if we just use, let's try object mapping. And let's add an empty, maybe like that, and let's use that object for the mapping. Let's see, when we move it and we scale it down, just add some ambient occlusion, screen space reflections. And I'm just going to use a mirror modifier to mirror this piece on the other side. Let me get some water, I'm feeling busy a bit. Okay, back, just got some water. I think this has to be, let's try using an add shader instead of a mixed shader. Sorry, I joined late. No problem, man. No problem, you can always watch the stream later. Let's grab this edge. Maybe just push this in the back, scale this up. And let's just add the pull that is causing the caustics. So I think it's around here. Let's extrude. How much time you think it will take to make a mic, to make a headphone? Well, it depends on you, on your speed and experience, I think. But me, it would take me, it usually takes me around 2 hours. Depending on how detailed I want something to be. But sometimes it can take me even longer. Again, all depends on how much time you want to spend. This one we can make this into water. So this is just going to be transmission. It's going to have a transmission material. And let's use cycles. Going to add a sun. And the emission strength can be a bit low, maybe 0.1. And maybe this can be set as, let's just set it, just use one principal shader, and this can be the emission strength here. Just make sure that the scale let's make sure that the scale is right for this noise. Bring back that. Let me first hide this. I think our texturing still needs a lot of work. Just can bring this down a bit. Let's use this as our texture. I'm going to switch out this texture for a different texture. Let's try switching it out with this. Now I'm going to go to the world settings. Now I think mostly what is left is just setting up the correct lighting for this. So let me add an area light around here. And I don't know how big this scene is. It's quite big, so let's scale it down. Significantly so that it's not too big, because that's also causing some issues for us. Now, the caustics were easy to make, but making this scene look good is turning out to be quite a challenge. Let me first make the scene without the caustics, and since the caustics are done, we can come back to them later. Just make the scene look good, and then yeah, we can make things better before denoising. Let's get the water. Now this is going to be water, and I think I have a water material somewhere. So instead of creating it from scratch, I can just use it. And try this. Okay, let me try a different water material because I have a few of these. So let's see. No, actually, this is not too bad. Let's just make sure that the color matches that of the water. Something like that. And I think things are starting to look much better. Now, the challenge is making this look good. So let's bring back the transmission, or this. Just going to add a car ramp. Hey Jade Bradford, how are you doing? Maybe what we can try is instead of using the emission shader, we can just add this to the diffuse. Yeah, it's kind of challenging, especially mixing because just creating the what is it called? The caustics is very, very easy. But making them look good is a bit challenging. See, and if you tried rendering these caustics, let me see. Another option I can think of is just creating an IES light that kind of projects the caustics directly onto the surface. But I'm not sure how to create IES lights. And let me see if I get rid of the caustics for now. Let's go back to cycles. Let me also hide this light. I think we got the shape right. It's the caustics that are kind of being an issue. Let's try 100. I want to see if I can use a texture. If I get a texture, not mask ref, texture, Voronoi texture, and use that as the strength of this. I think we need a very small light. Is this the only source of light here? It is. I just want to see how this texture affects the light itself. Let me add a color ramp. Maybe use object mapping. Yeah, it's kind of challenging. The caustics are easy. The hardest part is just adding them to the scene and making them blend out of the material. I would have to look at that in my free time and see how I could do that. But this scene also looks good as it is like that. Let me just make sure to remove the use nodes. Actually, I'm seeing something. If I use nodes, hide this, and bring this closer to the actual surface, I want to see if the texture is really being projected. Okay, so you can see that we are seeing some caustics. We're seeing the projection. Let's use a spotlight and see if this would focus things much better. 90. No, I don't know if you can see this, but the caustics are starting to appear. Oh, he used Luxco. Yeah, because Blender is really not very good at caustics. It can take you quite some time to render caustics. Actually, if you look closely, we are seeing something in there. Maybe let me try inverting the noise. Hey, thank you for subscribing. Adnai. Sorry for pronouncing your name wrong. A power node. Yeah, I think if a combination of the spotlight can actually give you some good caustics, because I'm seeing them here, and they're just not too powerful. Let me see if I can use let's use a point light and see. Nope. Let's try a math node. Or we can try a math node with the operation of greater than. Yeah, it seems whatever I'm doing, we're not going to get these caustics like this. You see a faint bit of it, but we're not going to get them like that. So, and I think I'm going to end the live stream here. This was not too successful, so I'm just a bit demotivated to continue. I'll just do some research on this because, trying to render caustics directly with Blender takes too much time. A fake way would be the best way to approach it. Anyway, thank you for joining us. We can continue this in the next live stream tomorrow.